Hello, and welcome to this video presentation. My name is Paul Brett. I'm a Senior Software Support Analyst supporting the Transformation Extender product from IBM. Today's topic is using the PDF adapter example with ITX. Feel free to reach out to me on popular social media channels at Paul Brett IBM. In today's practical session, I'm going to run the example that comes with the ITX 10 and 10.1 product. We're going to use it in two steps to create two PDF files. In the second part, I'm going to break down the steps that are used to create the required metadata for those two steps. We'll start this demonstration looking at the Windows File Explorer window showing the directory for the PDF adapter example. As you can see, the example is delivered with 10 files. I'm going to open the service.mms in my ITX 10.1 Design Studio. And just by opening this file, you will note that an additional 3 files are created: a service mopt, an estimate MTX and a request MTX. These are just background files that are required, that are not delivered but are generated on the first time you open the source file. Okay, so let's walk through the example. There are two maps. The first map to run is request. The first input card of request reads an XML file called request and creates a file called xyzrequest.pdf. And it creates this by using a template called request.pdf and a names file called request.names. Now these files are provided to you as well as the request.xsd that this card uses. In the second half of this demonstration, I will show you how to generate the request.xsd and the request.names from the request.pdf file. But for now we'll just use the ones that are provided. So as I said, this map creates xyzrequest.pdf. So let's build and run this one now. The map has completed successfully. Back in the File Explorer, you will note that there are a few more files created, including the compiled map and its associated .mme and mdg files. When I ran the map, we have a .mtr file for the PDF adapter. This is the adapter trace. And the final file that was created, the xyzrequest.pdf. Moving on to map 2, estimate. This is the second half of the two map transaction. Estimate on the input card reads the file that we just created with request. It reads xyzrequest.pdf using the request.xsd schema, which is provided, and again I will show you how to generate that in the second half of this demonstration. On the output card we are writing xyzestimate.pdf, a completely different file name, and this uses the estimate.names and the estimate.xsd as a schema. Those files are provided to you, but we can generate them later, as well as the estimate.pdf, which is being used here as a template. The final file that this map is producing is xyzestimate.pdf. So let's build and run that map now. Build, run. Okay, so that map has completed successfully, and we can see XYZ estimate has been produced. So let's have a quick look at the templates first. Let's have a look at the request template. You will note that it is a form that has empty fields. Let's have a look at the final file XYZ request, the first final file that was produced by the first map that I ran. It's exactly the same form but with the fields filled in. Moving on to the second template, estimate. Another template, a different template this time but with empty fields. And finally on to the XYZ estimate, which was the second of the two PDFs that was produced by the second map that we ran. And it is the same form, this time with the fields filled in. So this is a two-map process, a map that reads XML and produces a PDF, and a second map that reads a PDF and produces another PDF. Let's close all that and move on to the second part of the demonstration where I regenerate all those files. Back at the original example directory now, and back to the 10 items that are delivered with the example, I'm going to show you how to generate these 4 files that are delivered, but it's never explained exactly how they are created. So if we just delete those files for now, that's the 2 .names files and the 2 .xsd files that are generated from these PDFs. We can't delete the PDFs because they are created using a third-party tool. They are just normal PDFs with Acroforms on them. First thing we're going to do is open our Design Studio and create a new extender project. I'm going to call it PDF and point it to the directory where the examples are. This project now has a map in it, a single schema file that describes the input XML file that is used by the first map, and a couple of other miscellaneous files. But crucially, those .names files and .xsd files do not currently exist. So let's start with the first one, and the first one of the 2 maps, if I remind myself, the first one of the 2 maps that we run is request. So it is expecting a schema called request.xsd, which currently doesn't exist, and that means we need to import the request.pdf file first. So let's go ahead and do that. So from the PDF, we right-click the project name and choose Import, and we go for the PDF importer. We point to the file name. We're going to import request.pdf first. Click Next. We want all the files that are produced by this importer to be pasted into the PDF project, so we click that, click Next, and we click Finish. Okay, that refreshes a couple of times, but if we jump back to the File Explorer window, you will see that request.names and request.xsd are the 2 files, crucially, that have been just generated by the importer. So basically, that is all you need to do to recreate the 2 files that are required for this example to run it from the beginning. Let's go and do it for the second PDF that we need. So from the Design Studio, we choose Import and PDF, and we click on the second PDF that we need, which is Estimate. Next, tell it where we want the files to appear, and we click Next and Finish. And back to our File Explorer, and you will see we now have estimate.names and estimate.xsd. So if we go back to our map now, our 2 map pair in the map source file, request, if I double click on it, that schema has been recreated, and if I was to build and run this map, it would run again because request.names has also been recreated, and this map would again produce the xyz request.pdf that is required for the second map, estimate, which reads xyz request.pdf using the request.xsd schema which was generated, and then writes out to the xyz estimate.pdf using the estimate.names and estimate.xsd that was generated in the second import that I did. So there we go. There's a quick run through of the PDF adapter example that comes with ITX 10 and 10.1. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch my video presentation today. Hopefully you found it interesting and informative. If you did, please use that like button. Consider subscribing to my YouTube channel, as I release content such as this on a regular basis. Feel free to reach out to me on popular social media channels at Paul Brett IBM. Thank you.